How you doing, everyone? My name is Ryan and this is Ade, and welcome to another edition of Box Talk. In the final main event of the year, we've got Adrien Broner versus Marcos Maidana. Future heir apparent for pound list, the big puncher. What do you want to say, Ade?
This is it's a good matchup. It's a very good matchup. You're right, heir apparent. This is the guy that's supposed to be literally the king of boxing. Him and Alvarez are supposed to take boxing into another level once the likes of Pacquiao and Mayweather arrive. They're supposed to be the pay-per-view kings.
Yeah.
This is his first pay-per-view fight, I think it is. This is his first one, so let's see how he does.
They took a pay-per-view now.
I'll take a pay-per-view. That's a sign. That's a strange sign. That's a very strange sign. But anyway, let's go back to the fight. Look, Adrien Broner, last performance, not great. We all admit that. But I think people have looked at the last performance and they said, oh yeah, but he's not as good, maybe the hype was wrong. Maidana is a very good boxer, people.
Yeah.
Now, and not only that, he was coming up in two weights. I think maybe because we put Broner at such a high pedestal that we expected to see fight work. He's coming up from 135 to fight a guy that was the world champion, held the title. Yeah. Was it WBO welterweight title? I think that Maidana actually held. WBA that he took off Shevchenko. I can't remember what it was. WBA. So he was going to have to fight a WBA welterweight champion, jumping two weights, and he beat him. It was close, but he did beat him. But we all wanted more. Watching back, it was a decent performance. He didn't really get hit with much, and he threw a couple of punches. But he's fighting someone here who don't take a step back. He's fighting someone here who is not scared. He's fighting someone here who cannot speak no English. So all that cussing stuff that he does is not working with Marcos Maidana. But, and this is the final but, if anyone wants the proof that I think Broner's going to win, watch Danny Swift Garcia versus Lucas Matisse. Similar kind of style, similar kind of fighters. These guys can be stopped and can be hurt. And I think Broner's going to win this quite comfortably.
Yeah. Broner's last performance was so-so in the sense where everyone expected so much of him. But I also think it's his attitude in the rings that caused him to get some of the comments as well, because he wasn't really putting it on. He was taking shots. He was, in a sense, pussyfooting around the ring, and he wasn't really putting much of a performance on. And that's the type of thing you can't do with someone like Maidana. I mean, Maidana's got the power in either hand, and he's got a solid chin. I mean, if you remember Maidana fought Amir Khan, he got dropped hard with a body shot. Hard. Ridiculously hard early in the first round. I think within the first 90 seconds. Yeah, in the first 90 seconds. But then he came back and went full 12 rounds and hurt Khan late. Now, I'm not saying hurting Khan's a big thing because Khan don't have the best recovery powers, but it shows that he could be hurt early and carry on. Broner can't be running around and be playing games in this fight. If he makes one mistake, any mistake, the fight could be over quickly.
Yeah, you're right. No, it can be. But I think we don't give Broner enough credit for what he is, and I think what he is a very smart boxer. I think all the stuff, he's very similar to Floyd in the sense that they do all the trash talk, do all the hype, all the talk. These guys are very meticulous though in what they do. Yeah. Broner is a good, unbeaten fighter. Marcos Maidana is a good, beatable fighter. And that's where the line draws. It's a very close line, but Marcos Maidana is beatable. We've seen him been beat. I saw a very aged and battered Eric Morales give Maidana hell in the last few rounds of their fight. Morales really was at his best 10 years ago. Broner right now is coming to his peak. Not in terms of his age, his style, his experience. I just think that as much as I want Maidana to give him problems, I think he's going to outbox him pretty easily.
No, see, I agree with what you're saying, whereas Maidana can be beat, he's had problems before. Broner's problem is not actually with boxing, it's his lifestyle. I think that's it. All the playing around, all the YouTube videos, all the sex videos, everything is up to outside of boxing. If you saw what's it called, the 24/7 what Showtime did, the show for the Mayweather fight, Broner was not in good shape. You know what I mean? He's doing too many things around, and then he takes it as a game. You know, in a lot of fight, even for Eloy Perez, I mean, he takes it as a game too much. And you know, like Tyson said, this is the hurt business. I'm in there to hurt you, not to play games. And if he plays games and floats around and does certain things, he's not going to get through this undefeated streak. I believe he is the future of boxing. I believe he's got the skills. And I believe he's got the talent to do it. But I don't know if the mind's there yet.
See, I think the mind is there. And I think he's playing a very smart game. Yeah, he might blow up a bit. You know, he's a young kid growing into his weight. So really and truly, he's probably going to be around the 147 mark. That's probably going to be his weight. He might even got to 154. He's quite a tall guy, Broner is. Look, everything Broner does outside of the ring is the reason you watch him inside the ring. That's the thin line. It's a very thin line. If Broner didn't do all these little antics outside the ring, if he didn't call himself look AB and a billionaire this and I'm this and that, we probably wouldn't even watch this guy in the ring because there's a million other guys that fight like Broner. There's something about Broner that attracts us to him, and it's that what he does outside the ring. Now, what he does in the ring, he still has to get better at. And I just think that stylistically, they've got a smart guy in fighting. I mean, so they've matched it up quite well. They've got Marcos Maidana, who's a great name at 140 and 147. But Marcos Maidana can be outboxed pretty easily. He's a come-forward type fighter. And I think Adrien Broner has the power and the skills to easily stop a come-forward type fight.
Yeah. Now, Maidana was a little bit slow as well. You know what I mean? He's not the fastest or fleet-footed boxer. It's like as they said, it's a fight that's set up well, it's marketed as well, but you can clearly see what the way the fight's going to play out. My concern, like I said, is that what Broner does otherwise is going to cause him a problem. And I also think that Golden Boy has been playing around with him a little too much. Like, when he missed weight, they let him off the hook. You know, he was tweeting pictures of him eating donuts and Twinkies. They're giving the guy the wrong image and the wrong type of idea of what he can do, what he can't do. And that's what's going to cause a problem. He needs to understand that this is his career. He's a young guy, he's got all the talent in the world, all the potential in the world. You need to put the hard work in and win fights. You know, when you look at the great fighters, and I'm trying to say, yes, they all have problems coming up and doing certain things, but there's certain things you have to follow by to get your craft right. Once you're young, you start making mistakes now, it's only going to have problems further down because you're going to lose that technical sharpness.
See, for me though, I feel like his problems aren't anything to do with his boxing skills. I think his boxing skills are phenomenal. He's really got a good look. Andre Berto tried to copy that style, and we saw he couldn't do it. It's a hard style to do what him and Mayweather do, but he seems to pull it off really, really well. Look, this is the thing with him. He's very, very young still. I mean, people say, yeah, Mayweather does all this kind of stuff. Mayweather's a serious guy. Mayweather wasn't serious when he was Broner's age. Even Sugar Ray Leonard wasn't serious when he was Broner's age. He's a young fighter, and he's getting a lot of these. He's getting a lot of everything's been thrown at him. I think it's hard to cope when you're considered the future Hall of Famer, the future this, the future that, when you're only, 24, 25 years of age. Yeah. I think it's a good matchup. It's a great matchup because I'd love to see where he goes from this into 2014. I think he wins. Maidana will cause him problems. Look, Madonna's not a bum. I'm not trying to... It might seem like I'm just trying to wash the carpet with Maidana. Maidana has no chance. Maidana's got a chance. He's a great fighter. But Maidana's a bit flat-footed. He's a bit slow, and he's a come-forward type fighter. And a come-forward type fighter for someone like Adrien Broner that's clearly a counter-puncher is ideal. And that's what they've done. They've matched him up with someone that is clearly ideal, that will make him look really good after Border Mananaji made him look really so-so.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, only thing I will say is that Broner's got a world title, but I don't think he's top 5 in the division. I think he's stuck between that top 5, top 10, and beating Maidana won't bring him any further up.
See, you say he's not top 5. I can't name 5 better than him. No, I can name 2 or 3. I can't name any. I can't go as far as 4 and 5 that I say better than him. I can't.
Okay,
because you got Kell Brook, who's top 5 in the division supposedly.
Yeah,
he beats Kell Brook for me.
Again, I see Kell Brook and Broner in the same ballpark. Where the guys that got high rankings, titles, interim titles, whatever, but they have not fought the right people in the division yet. They've literally got their rankings by fighting, in a sense, the guys that's around top 10 or the guy that's around top 12.
You know, it's a good argument, but sometimes I don't...
Mananaji was a world champion, but again, no one's had a man there that's number 1 in the division.
No one's ever number 1, but people had him in the top 5, top 10, maybe. Yeah. See, sometimes there's an argument for saying that someone that can come up a division shouldn't be ranked higher than someone that's been in the division. But there's something about... There's no point, I feel like, trying to match someone like Adrien Broner against someone that's in the top 10, I mean, a 10 or a 9. Jump him straight up there. And I think that's what they're doing right now. I think Maidana, to me, is definitely a top 10 fighter. And so Mananaji is definitely a top 10 fighter.
I agree with the top 10 fighters, but like I said, they're the lower half of the top 10 fighters. Like I said, right now, I think guys like Keith Truman's got a better shot to say that he's a top 10 higher than these guys. Even though they got world titles, but this guy's been in the division for a long time. He's fighting credible contenders and worked his way through. He hadn't just jumped in, had one fight, which was very close in decision, and now has been given a top ranking. Yeah, but it's almost similar. Sometimes, but
it's similar with Guerrero, for example. Guerrero came from 135 and one shot, really pretty much skipped 140.
Yeah.
Then and then went to one fight at 147.
Yeah.
Then fought
that's a tough dog.
Yeah, and then fought Adrien Broner, and then fought Andre Berto. Sometimes you don't need to fight 4 or 5 fights, I think, in the division to prove yourself. I think if you're that good, you are that good. And I think Adrien Broner is that good. And I think, minus obviously Mayweather and... Look, to me, I put him in against Danny Garcia right now. I think he beats Danny Garcia 147.
Here's my argument. Broner's a 3-weight world champion now, and he hasn't fought one recognised. He only fought one recognised champion in the division.
Yeah,
he never fought the champ at 135. He ain't fought the champ at 147. You could say he was a champ at 130, but now you find at 147 you're 3-time world champion, but you haven't fought none of the market into your division. You know what I mean? You're collecting titles and taking all the money and taking all the accolades for it, but you haven't earned it.
I think he has earned it. I think he's done really well. I think he's doing a lot for boxing right
No,
now.
I'm not.
He's bringing interest right in boxing. I mean, what you just done there with Adrien Broner, we could easily right now do it with Floyd Mayweather.
No.
It's exactly the same thing. In terms of Floyd Mayweather, never really fought the man at that weight division. We always say it, but at the end of the day, he's a 5-weight world champion.
No. See, what I'm saying with Broner is that he's got all the ability. He's bringing new fans and his attitude and everything he's doing. He's bringing a lot of attention to the sport, which is good for the sport. But like I said, as an athlete, as a fighter, I think he's got a lot to learn and he's still a fresh guy. He needs to actually focus on the task at hand. And if you are as good as you say you are, if you are a top 10 pound for pound ranked fighter, fight the best in your division.
Which he's doing that now.
Close to.
Well, Marcos Maidana is one of the best.
Close.
Marcos Maidana is definitely in the top 10 in that weight division. But look, Ryan, what do you think? Who wins?
I'm going to go with Broner. Like you said, I think Maidana's a tad too slow, and it's a fight that makes Broner look good. So that's why I think it's a set-up fight, because it's a tailor-made man for him. It's tailor-made. So it's fight one of the best in the division, but it's a guy that's made for him.
That's boxing, people. But guys, what do you think?
Sorry, but what I will say though is that if he makes a mistake, Maidana does have power to drop him.
Okay. Maidana never, ever will drop Broner. Mark my words on this guy. That's never going to happen. He's not even going to get close enough to touch him, just let alone drop him. But guys, look, what do you think? I mean, look, Marcos Maidana, look, he's a 140 guy as well, coming up to 147. He's had a few fights in that division. He is a tough man. There's no two ways about it. They build him tough in Argentina. But did we see the kind of a recipe when Danny Garcia fought Lucas Matisse? Is Adrien Broner going to try and just literally surprise everyone and just literally go toe to toe with this guy? I don't think so. What about Adrien Broner? 2014. Are we seeing the big fights? Could he be the surprise opponent for Mayweather on May 5th? Who knows? I don't think so. But guys, leave your comments below. Who wins this fight? The last big fight of the year. Who wins it? Adrien Broner or Marcos Maidana? Email us as well at
BoxTalk@hotmail.co.uk.
And guys, thanks for tuning in for another edition of BoxTalk.